Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Beyond The Playbook podcast. And this is Ashish and their side. And look, I'm wearing a Jamaica jersey for anyone who is curious to see a little bit of a different thing. But yeah, we're back for another episode, and we've reached the business end of the tournament. We're, you know, going to preview the two semi-finalists. So, the first one between France and Spain, and the second one between Argentina and England. And fair to say, the quarterfinals, in some parts, lived up to the hype. At least some of the matchups we were looking forward to, and in certain cases didn't live up to it. Of course, it had its fair share of controversy and a little bit of their mistakes as well. But yeah, before we get into it, how is it? Do you have a uh, sorry, what do you have like an idea of who do you think is likely to go away with the cup after watching these games, after having more data, so to speak?
Because I'm rooting for them, I want to say Argentina, but based on how the tournament has gone so far and based on how this particular team has played so far, leading up to the semi-final stage now, I think France are looking like it. They look like the team
Yeah,
that are going to walk away with the trophy.
I mean, even I'm partly of that opinion because even I've kind of uh, become warmer towards them, or I've gravitated towards them as the tournament has gone because, frankly, because of how that front four has performed in this tournament. But also, I like to the fact that I think they have done the best job so far of problem solving their way through the tournament, and I think. I mean, it's not as if the other three teams have not problem solved, but I think the problem solving that France has done has been much more comfortable compared to the other three teams. They have been a little more. There has been a little more comfort and inevitability about each of their wins, so to speak. I mean, of course, they will face a very. I think this would be a tougher test. The semi-final against Spain, in my opinion, will be a tougher test for them compared to the potential final against England or Argentina. But I mean, that remains to be seen whether they do win against Spain, for that matter. But I think so far the signs are pointing towards France, like winning it, and I think, I mean, for the most part, generally the best team has won the World Cup, and it will just continue the trend. I think. I don't think it's anything different because 2022, I think Argentina, even though France were had a shout to be one of the best teams, I think Argentina was a better team in that World Cup. 2018, May France was the best team in that World Cup. 2014, same. Even though 2010 was a bit of a boring World Cup, I think Spain were head and shoulders. I think that probably could be debatable because I think Netherlands were good and even Germany, for that matter, were good. 2006, I think, should have been France, but then we all know what happened for that. So I think for the most part, even 2002, Brazil, best best team won that World Cup. 1998. Uh, France, I would say, were the team of destiny then. So, I think for the most part, the World Cup has been won like by the best team, or if not, they do end up reaching the final. So, I think there's not been any, surprises from that perspective. So, I think it's looking like likely. But yeah, let's move on. So, the format of this episode will be like instead of us, you know, uh, previewing the semifinals as is, which we will do, of course, over the course of the thing, we're going to do it in a very different format. So since the time gap for us to record two episodes, one for the semi-final, one for the final, is a little difficult considering our schedule. What we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and look ahead for the final, and we're going to look at it from the four possible scenarios the final can be played. So the four possible matchups which can be played. So we had a little bit of a discussion before the episode started, and yeah, I mean, we did of course had our disagreements, but what we did land upon was the most likely semi final matchup would be France versus Argentina, followed by Spain versus Argentina, then France versus England, and lastly Spain versus England. And I think for the most part they do align. I think if you look at it from a narrative standpoint, also all four of them. If you look at it from descending order in terms of narrative, also kind of makes sense. These four matchups, if you look at it, probably you may switch around the Spain England ahead of France England, because I think Spain England has a little bit more of the recent history because of the Euros final. So probably there is that switch up which needs to be there. But from narrative standpoint, I think it makes sense that order. So that's what we're going to look at it. And of course, we're going to have the most, by far, our favorite, my favorite segment, the quiz. So there's that. And yeah, we will end the episode. And then our next episode after this would theoretically be, uh, I mean, we'll of course be reviewing the final, how the final went. That will take a large chunk of the episode. And we'll also have a more uh, larger view of the tournament as a whole. We'll have our respective thoughts on it, how it is, and we'll be since the whole tournament is played, we'll be able to give a much better feel for how we felt during the tournament. Okay, so yeah, let's go into the nitty gritty. So the first game is the first semi-final will be played between Spain and France. I would say France. I think it largely went how I expected it to go. Right, if you remember in the previous uh, uh, episode between both of us, I did mention that I think France would be comfortable against Morocco, and I think it largely went that way. And I think both of us were of the same opinion that Spain would struggle against, or I mean, it would be a very tight game against Belgium, and it worked out that way. So yeah, like, what are your thoughts on both the teams, and like maybe you can expand upon it. What do you feel? We can move on from there.
Yeah, so obviously both the quarterfinals that these two teams played more or less played out like how we thought, and but that I think that predictability was only applicable until the quarterfinals ended. Now that they're facing each other, I don't think we can apply the same principles to this game, because obviously two very different opponents for both of them now, and for them, I think for both of them, I think this is so far the toughest opponent that they're going to be facing at the World Cup, and for France especially, considering how they've moved throughout this World Cup, like just uh, pushing past everybody who's come their way. I think this is going to be their true test. Spain, again, in their previous two games, they've had to rely on last minute winners within normal time only, and not haven't had to take it to extra time. So they still have uh, uh, they still have that. But even then, I feel like they're leaving it a little too late sometimes. France, on the other hand, they've been pretty clinical so far, and their front four have really got the job done in so many of these games, and have been very impressive as well. I still feel like there's something missing from Spain, something that we all expected before the tournament started to click, but it probably hasn't clicked that much. And obviously their star player in Yamal, who hasn't really been fully fit throughout this tournament. For the team to be able to play well, he also has to be fully fit. So all of that has to come together. Let's see if it comes together this game. But I feel like, given Spain's shortcomings, I feel like France will take this game. It won't be easy by all means. I don't think it's going to be an easy thing. I don't think Spain's going to let France go easily, especially considering how Spain. I won't. I'm not going to call it luck, but let's just say that they had a few escapes in the Belgium game where they had a few goal line clearances. Their players were at the right place at the right time to deflect to take to block shots, etc., to prevent Belgium from equalizing. Uh, I feel like a proper defensive game is needed from Spain, where everyone's going to have to get behind the ball, or is going to have to throw their body at the ball if need be. But I still feel like it is going to be France's game.
Yeah, largely, I think like uh, probably like, I mean, to look at it from a perspective, I think this is probably the sort of team which would probably give France a couple of issues from a wholly theoretical standpoint, because of Spain's traditional propensity to want to keep possession of the ball for large periods or large chunks of the game, for that matter. And that serves as a more of a defensive tactic rather than an offensive one, because that I think that speaks volumes to why they've just conceded the one goal in 6 games so far this tournament. And I don't think they like see. I mean, if you look at the XG per game, they've more or less just conceded less than 0.5 xg per game, which is insane, like insane. But also, I think that's to do with not facing teams who are threatening an attack as well. Like, I mean, if you look at their murderers row of teams, so to speak, this tournament, I think they faced Cape Verde. Not really the most. I mean, I think Cape Verde were looking to play for the draw, not really as offensively minded. Then they were looking. It was a group stage game, so they were just looking to make an impression. Second game was against Saudi. I mean, we all know how Saudi plays. Not really the best thing. Not what we're looking for. And then Uruguay, a Uruguay team in disarray. Not really the most clinical team. Not really. I mean, they have Darwin Nunez, but he's not really clicked for whatever reason. Not really. You're not facing peak Luis Suarez, uh, Edinson Cavani, or Diego Forlan for that matter. So not really going to be threatened by them. Round of 32 was, I think, they faced. Wasn't it? Who did Spain face? Austria? Yes, they face Austria. Again, a very largely offensively blunt team, like not really the same. And they did face Portugal in the pre-quarters, and we all know why Portugal are the way they are. And we did go in depth in the previous episode. And I think, yeah, this Belgium team was, I think, by far the most offensively minded team they met. And again, like not really, they don't have like I think this Belgium team didn't have those weapons also. Maybe like this Big Rom came off the bench, but little less time for him to make an impression as well. And I think towards the end, Belgium were like literally the Walking Dead. And I think one more thing that you could say that, see, that not saying you make your own luck. It's not. I would say that Belgium, I mean Spain for the matter, have not been as lucky as say England or even Argentina for the matter. I think they have been. They've not really had to rely on external factors to, win their games. I think they've largely been good values for their victories for the most part. It's just that I don't think they've been challenged, and I think like how this would be France's first challenge in terms of facing a team which kind of built to kind of nullify them for the matter, not having much of the ball. I think this France team also would be a different challenge for Spain, likewise, because I don't think Unai Simon, like I mean, there was a whole debate before the tournament about how Spain's best keeper is not in goal, like it's rather they have two better keepers on the bench, and Unai Simon I find him to be a distinctly average keeper, and I think for whatever reasons, I think the manager knows him from the under 21 days, and that's a part of the reason why he plays him. But he did show that he has a mistake in him, and I think having a mistake against Belgium is one thing, but having similar propensity to make similar mistakes against France, you're going to get you know fried, and that's one thing I would say. So yeah, like I think it is a very tactically interesting game. I think like I think Yamal uh, not being yeah, it's funny, like he's 18, he's like literally just 18, and we were all like putting a lot of fairly and maybe unfairly in certain cases, like we were expecting this to be his like it's coming out party and stuff like that, but it kind of shows, right? Development also is not linear. It's not like uh, I think Yamal had the case to be one of the best teenagers up until like, maybe recently. He's also been blighted by injuries as well. So maybe that's also partly to do with starting as early as he did as well. So building up your body is also a different thing. So there are levels to this, like how Mbappe came onto the scene in the 2018 World Cup. That's a different example. He was 20, like 19 then, but yeah. So there are levels to this. I think it's a little unfair, but it also goes to show the talent that Yamal has. So like we are expecting more out of him. Maybe I mean this semi-final could be the game where he decides to actually show a better part of himself. I mean, I hope. I mean, I'm not hoping he does so because I've always had him in my fantasy team for whatever reason. So I think I'm like kind of hoping that he's done well, but he's not done well for whatever reason. But aside from that as well, I think this is a sort of game because he made a very curious remark after the quarterfinal. He said, uh, something along the lines of we've had a good matchup against France, and we're confident about meeting them, and we have beaten them in previous meetings. And I think when you put a statement like that out there, I think it's not about the team. I think it's for him to also take ownership for the fact and actually walk the walk. I mean, walk the talk, so to speak. and I think that fairly or unfairly he's painted a target on himself. So it'll be very interesting to see how they navigate that. And France, I don't think whatever I say about France is going to, like, I've largely said, I've waxed lyrical about the French team. Like I think I've been like very uh, astounded by how that team has played, like really very spellbound. And I think largely it's more of the same. Like I think it'll be interesting to see how they navigate this sort of challenge. But I'll openly tell it now. If they negotiate Spain, I think they're winning the World Cup. I don't think whoever they meet in the final, whether it be Argentina or England for the matter, I think both those teams don't have anything on France. And yeah, we'll speak more about that as we discuss those four matchups, so to speak. But yeah, I think that's my general vibe. I generally don't have a feeling about this game. Like it could go either way. I wouldn't be shocked with either result, even though like I would of course prefer France to go through because I do like the way they play. But if Spain win it, not really too surprising. France win it, same likewise. So I think it's that.
Yeah, no, I agree with the point that you made about if France win this game, they are winning the tournament because, uh, like it's that thing of this is the final, this is the actual final sort of thing. Like this is
Yeah,
going to be a much tougher matchup than the final. But
yeah.
and this is only in terms of the team, obviously, because once you reach the final, the occasion is completely different. It becomes a
Of
completely
course, yeah,
different game and all. But yeah, no,
yeah,
I agree with that point. And yeah, again, whoever wins it, we may not be surprised if Spain do win it. Then they've arguably deserved to win it because they've beaten France. They've beaten a very good
yeah,
France team. They've beaten the best team at this World Cup, right? So they
yeah,
deserve to go through to the
yeah.
final. So yeah,
Yeah,
that I
this
agree with.
I think this game's like that cliched, stereotypical cliche which is there, right? The final before the final, and this is genuinely that. Like we do use this in, I think last year in the NBA, the Spurs, the San Antonio Spurs were facing the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference Finals, and everyone was like, you know, saying that was the final before the final, and it did pan out that way. It went to seven, and the Spurs ended up winning it, and everyone was like of the belief that whoever won that series would win the NBA finals, but we all know what happened there. So like a sport like unlike anything else, it's like the ultimate leveler. Like you really cannot predict. But I think based on evidence which has been shown to us by many, like by we have a big sample size of 6 games about all these four teams, and I think it has shown that France have what it takes to negotiate whatever is in their path if they do reach the final, so to speak. Same with Spain also, like generally speaking. So yeah, I think enough about this game, and now to the other game, which is like, I mean, for me, it like I'm totally conflicted in this game. It's like because of as you know, like I have certain this thing, and I think that will be the first and last time where I would be supporting England in a game of football or in any sport for that matter. So yeah, like it's a very very dark day if that's the case. Like, I'll just say. But yeah, before I go into my rant slash soliloquy about both those teams, I think it's better you start.
Again, as everyone knows, since the beginning of this tournament, I have been supporting Argentina to win this World Cup. So objectively, is it subjectively or objectively happy that they've won their game so far and they're in the semi-final. Like today morning when I woke up, I saw the score and it was 1-1 and they were heading into extra time. So I was like, is there a chance they lose this? And then when I checked the final score, it said 3-1. So objectively happy that they are going into this World Cup, but uh, the narratives have not been great about their games so far, and rightly so because there have been a lot of questionable calls and a lot of questionable decisions that look like they've been favoring Argentina. A lot of inconsistencies in refereeing that fairly or unfairly have put all the attention on Argentina being treated favorably in the World Cup. Again, one could argue that it comes at a bad time for not a bad time for Argentina, but like all eyes are on the defending champion, so it sort of inflames whatever like negative headlines are put their way or whatever controversies are thrown their way. It sort of blows up. But also, could there be any truth in all of these say conspiracy theories that they are being favored and like things actually are going their way, because there's stuff going on behind the scenes and all of that. So in that sense, it sort of tainted my support for them. Like it's completely different from last year, where they, except for the Saudi game, they were good every game. They won their games. They obviously had a lot of tough games in between, and there were a lot of moments there, but they deservedly reached the final, and they like deservedly won the final as well. So compare it to this year, it's been a little bit of a rocky road. Like even trying to be an Argentina fan, like you're like, I'm glad they won, but again, is it the kind of win that you can be happy about, sort of thing? And it's happened for not only has it happened from a like refereeing perspective and those kind of decisions, it's also been performance wise, right? We've seen them struggle against much lower ranked teams. We saw them struggle against Capo Verde. We saw them struggle against
Egypt.
Egypt, etc. So even from that standpoint, you're like, every game you're like, now are they going to win it? Are they not going to win it? You don't have that confidence is like slowly going down. If anything, I'm sort of glad that they are facing England in the semi-finals, because that's another team that I don't think people like. Even though they have been winning their games, and Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham have been showing up and like saving their asses, they're also a team that you can't be as sure of as, like, say France or say Spain, for that instance. So in that sense, I am a little relieved that they are playing England, and it'll be icing on the top if they do beat England, because again, I'm not. I don't know. Supporting England gives me the ick sometimes. In that sense, I feel like that matchup suits Argentina, but also England very unpredictable. You can't. They can show up. When you have players like Bellingham, who has been switched on throughout this tournament, you never know what can happen. And Argentina have shown lapses in concentration. They have let their heads go. They have lost their heads in these games, and they haven't done justice to their talent, or the talent that the entire team has, and have let games go all the way to extra time in certain games where it was not required. uh, so in that sense, I feel like it can come down to a game of mentality. It can come down to, on that day, who's more switched on, and who's more willing to like who's more like accepting of the fact that, yeah, we're not doing really well right now at the World Cup, but we have to somehow push through and get this game out of the way. So I feel like it'll come down to that.
Yeah, like I'm also thinking from a purely game theory standpoint, like of how I think this particular semi-final, both these teams have played some really hard physical games. Like they played extra time, they played like some, and even if they played 90 minutes, it's been a very intense 90 minutes. And if you compare in contrast to how France and Spain have fared in this tournament, both of them have not been taken to extra time. Like if I'm not wrong, I may or may not be mistaken. I mean, the Portugal game did not go to extra time, and Spain and the Belgium game also did not go to extra time. But yeah, so those two teams are relatively more fresher compared to this side of the thing. So that is also a very underrated thing, I would say, because like Argentina have two extra times under the belt, like with the Capo Verde game and yesterday's Switzerland game, and they have, and as a result of being the last team to have played, or generally the last game played in each of the rounds, that means the recovery between games has become shorter and shorter as a result. Like you're having to travel immediately. Also, like it's a big thing, and also the game against Egypt also, because they were coming down from a 2-0 deficit, you're still you're expounding a lot more energy also to come back, right? From the, even though they did win in 90 minutes or 90 plus whatever minutes. So it'll show also, I would say, like compare, and even England also, it did go to extra time yesterday against the Norwegians, and it was an intense 90 minutes at the Azteca at Mexico, and also again, like similar to how Argentina were coming down from a deficit against Egypt, similarly England were doing that against DR Congo. So both these teams have had, I mean, rightly or wrongly, have had a little bit of more of a harder path, and have kind of made hard weather comparative to the opponents they face. I think for the large part, I think England have faced the more tougher opposition compared to Argentina. Like net to net, I think DR Congo was much tougher compared to Capo Verde. I would say that Mexico being the hosts and that being their last game at the Azteca was definitely a tougher game compared to Egypt, and Norway by dint of having more individual talent and also Switzerland being as injured as they were, not really a comparison there. So I think England have comparatively shown a little more grit, a little more. I, I think I mentioned it also. I mentioned the episode with you and also in the episode with Philip as well, like how they have shown a lot more resilience, which I've not seen in past squads, and I think that is a good thing. And I think more than anything else, I think teams, especially in your international tournaments, you take on the quality and the character of your best player in the team. And I think it's largely borne out. It's nothing new. It's not rocket science for the most part. I think France. I think it's very clear that Mbappe is the best player on that team, and that's how they have played. I think Spain is more of a collective thing, but you would think that I think with Yamal providing the threat that he is providing, definitely that makes more of an impact on how Spain play compared to Yamal not being there. Like it's different. It's chalk and cheese how Spain approach games, and England. I think by dint of the fact that Bellingham, I honestly, even though like both Bellingham and Kane have scored the equal number of goals, both have scored 6 goals each. I think Bellingham has by far and away been England's best player, and it's not been a thing. I think Kane was really good in the DR Congo game, but other than that, he's not really been that great. And also, like, I mean, I don't want to give him any credit considering he revealed the other day that he enjoys playing golf with a certain president of a particular country. So I mean, there's that as well. But also, I honestly feel like England, and I don't know that I mentioned this in the preview, like before the tournament started. I think England were going to be taken as far as Bellingham was willing to take them, and I think Bellingham has shown that. He's played like this is essentially the reincarnation of 1998 Zidane. Like this is like maybe I mean I was not alive, of course. I was just about born when 1998 France was going on, but yeah, like I think this is what people are talking. I think this is my assumption of how 1998 Zidane played, and I think this is what it this is how it is. And like the way he has taken ownership also, it's been very impressive. I really like the thing. And also I've grown. I have like a good. I've always rated him as a player as well. I've always like liked how he's this thing good head on his shoulders. One of the you know better and foremost voices in the England team as well. And I think I grew a better appreciation. I was listening to this podcast the other day. I think I sent you that episode as well, like about Mbappe, and they did an episode of Bellingham, and I think my respect for him grew more and more. And I think yeah, there is this figure called Roy of the Rovers. How it's a very popular myth in England. I'm borrowing this from Simon Cooper, and Bellingham is the very essence of Roy of the Rovers. So Roy of the Rovers is basically this figure, like a fictional figure, who literally did everything. He would score goals. He would like take the game by the scruff and do everything required to win the game for his team. And I think Bellingham has been the personification of that. So yeah, like it's been very. I've actually been very impressed by how he's played, and that's part of the reason why how England have been. And he, without his goals, England would not be as far as they reached. And aside from how I found England to be more resilient, I think they were very lucky yesterday uh, on account of multiple things. I will list them one by one. Firstly, with the goal, the equalizing goal which they did score. I mean, I think people with a brain, non-flat earthers. I mean, people who can, who have eyes and who can clearly see the goal kick, which was or the clearance which was taken by Audrey Nealon, the Norwegian keeper, clearly reflected on touching something in its at its high point, and it clearly touched the spider cam wire and went down. Now, according to the rules of FIFA or the IFAB and the rules of the game, generally in such cases, if an external object comes into contact with the ball and that prompts it to change deviation, or the I think the most uh, I think I don't know whether you would remember this, but in the Premier League, I think 2000, in the late 2000s, there was a game between Liverpool and Sunderland, and beach ball had gotten onto the pitch, and I think Sunderland scored a goal via the beach ball. So there was a lot of controversy in the midst of that, and I think this is similar to that. The ball clearly hit the wire, came down, and that's how this thing. And I'm calling bullshit on FIFA's that whole, the sensor on the ball didn't detect anything. I'm like, brother, like you can hoodwink people and fool people, but people can know that it clearly took up this thing. And if you're citing something as niche and whatever that is, and it's very clear, like how suddenly one follicle of a Croatian player was enough to deflect the ball against Portugal, but this was not enough, deemed enough to get sensed by the ball. I don't know. So that shows there's a inconsistency in how the technology is also perceived. So the technology is not foolproof. So there's that. Then we move on to Norway scoring what they thought would be their second goal, the one where 130, like a man who I will refer to as 130 million pound man, a guy who I'm very shocked is worth 130 million pounds, even with all the English inflation. Elliot Anderson was matched up against his future teammate Erling Haaland at the club level, and you can see there's a distinct difference. Like this is a 6'5", approximately 95 kg man against a dwarf, so to speak. Like I don't want to be very derogatory, but comparatively speaking, a dwarf. And you know, why the fuck is that the matchup at a corner? Like that should have been taken by Stones. That should have been taken by whoever. Like a player who can deal with Haaland, so to speak, especially at the corner. So why? Okay, so Haaland, okay, pushed him, but the way Anderson sold that foul, man. Like I'm proud of him, man. Like he's got a career in theater. Like right after if he retires, if his move to Man City doesn't pan out the way it people other people hope it does. But yeah, like he's got a future career in theater. So there's that. The way he felt, man, like very theatrical, and I think after a point it's just like you want to police and over police every bit of contact which is there at every level in the football game. It's taking a very Orwellian twist, so to speak. Like this is what George Orwell speaks about. How there's the over indulgence of technology in every aspect of life, and this is what they're talking about. And VAR. My whole thing with again, I think I've mentioned this before. I'm not against technology. I think technology is very important in sport. Like goal line tech is very good. Semi-automated offside is very good. But VAR is not really automated. It is still determined by a human in a completely different this thing in a cold AC room, so to speak, who's not in the heat of the action, who will make different decisions and who has the benefit of slow motion replays to see and take a call on certain this thing. And you know that's what came to pass over there. So there's that. Okay, but a goal which I think a very soft disallowing of that goal. Like like you need to let players play. And I think yesterday both of us we were on call yesterday and we were talking about how you played this pickup tournament like this tournament yesterday, and how they were letting play flow much more, and like how the players themselves were not whinging and selling or buying fouls, so to speak. They were playing because that's how they this thing. And this is a game at a pretty if you take a think of the gulf in quality and class, definitely vast, right? I'm not saying, not making a comparison on that. And this is the attitude which is there at this level, and this is the fucking elite level, and this is how they're treating it as. Like you cannot do anything in the box, and basically they punished Haaland for being big. That's essentially the whole thing. It's like it's I see this a lot in the NBA as well. Like how big men not are punished a lot more just for being big compared, because they're guarded by people who are 6 to 7 feet tall, shorter than them. And this is literally that case. This is essentially the very encapsulation of that. Then okay, we have that incident. Then like around 15 minutes to go towards the end of the game. I'm sorry if I'm going into a very extended rant, but it needs to be said. Uh, there was a possible penalty for Norway where Konsa literally elbowed Berger, and I would say that if Konsa did not impede Berger, he definitely had a chance of getting a shot on target, and that should have been an adjudication of clear denial of a goal scoring opportunity, so to speak. And it did not go to VAR. It did not this thing. So if you are disallowing a goal for something physical, that is I would say that is more of a more of a more of a heinous crime compared to what happened over there. And then we move on to how England, they were already leading 2-1. Really good goal again. I think Neeland would be. I mean, he's had a really good tournament. I would be thinking he'll be reliving that moment over and over. Unfortunately, like the fact that he couldn't hold on to the ball. After that, the goal. I mean, the penalty, which probably would have seen England take a 3-1 lead. Jet Spence was just literally buying the foul. I think that is the only scenario where VAR's intervention, so to speak, was valid, or the same. But yeah, like you see, the intervention of technology has not really, and I think I've also mentioned this. Refereeing without the benefit of technology has always been biased. There is always a subconscious bias towards the larger team or against the underdog, so to speak. And this is, I think, I cannot help but think this is making the gulf, or the quality of decision making in favor of the bigger team is definitely upped. Like I think there needs to be a study done on this. Probably there is a study being done on this, but yeah, I think I'm sorry if I'm sorry like a dinosaur, or whatever if I'm saying this, but I think it's very valid. Like, and it's ruining the whole way the game is being perceived. And I think at the end of the day, FIFA got what it wanted, right? That's why it came up with the whole idea of pre-seeding teams, right? That's how, so that England and France don't meet earlier than what's required. England and Spain, for that matter, don't meet as required. So they got their wish, and I think FIFA will be very happy. They've earned their money. They've earned everything that they've needed to. Like that's part of the reason why. And before we recorded, did you see the news that Infantino just announced that they're looking to expand it to 64 teams? So it's yeah, the rich get richer, so to speak, and Infantino, and I don't want to go into the whole rant about the Argentina game against Switzerland, because the incorrect usage of protocols, which in this case was mistaken identity. Like mistaken identity is generally used in the case of if Messi committed a tackle and the yellow card is given to McAllister. Like so, to use an example, that is when you invoke the mistaken identity protocol, not for just whatever happens on the field, let it stay on the field. And I think they were just using it as a reason, and it's very suspicious that a lot of decisions have gone in favor of Argentina. And also, I think I sent this to you as well, right? The whole Roman Molina, there was a whole expose which he had done about how the Argentinian Football Association had set up a shell company in Miami, and whatever money they're getting through prize money and from Adidas and their various sponsors going through that company, and a few people within the FA who are the benefactors of the company are earning a few extra bucks from there. So it's very suspicious. Like I will say that. So yeah, I think my rant is over. But yeah, I think yeah,
Yeah, no, I get it. These two games, especially, were not straightforward from the refereeing point of view. Obviously, I was watching the highlights, and the amount of times. Obviously, England also had that goal chalked off for offside, and then there were so many start-stop moments, and there were so many like decisions that could have put the game could have seen the game go in either direction. But yeah,
yeah,
again, comes down to what we talk about every single episode, and how there has been a lot of inconsistency, and yeah, that truly doesn't make the viewing experience very good.
yeah,
And obviously, having so many, it's almost like micromanaging a game to go correctly, and you're sacrificing the smoothness of a game. You're sacrificing the very element of two teams playing football, which is to score more goals than the other team. And in the process, yeah, you get physical. You like, as long as it's like you do get physical with each other, you play a little rough. As long as it's not a blatant physical challenge or a rough this thing, there's no need for it to come under scrutiny every single time, right? It just spoils the entire viewing experience and the playing experience. So from that point of view, where the game is heading in a completely different direction that a lot of people are rightly very pissed about. But I don't see that changing anytime soon, especially with Infantino also trying to make money out of every single small moment in uh, this game now. And also expanding. Yeah, I heard the thing about the expansion to 64 teams. I won't be surprised if that happens, honestly. Uh,
yeah.
but
Same here.
God, no.
Yeah. I mean, I think 48 is the correct sweet spot. Like, I mean, they will have to figure out the whole third place scenario. I think that's something they have to work on. But 64 teams is too much. That would lead to more one-sided games, so to speak. And I think that would not be as enjoyable as a tournament, like which I think everyone would be on board with that, because I don't think there are 64 quality teams. I think in a 48 team tournament, I would say that there are probably 40 teams who can actually or probably can potentially you know spring or provide an upset, so to speak. And 64 teams, I don't think you will have as similar of a ratio. And I just want to call out a particular person. So I was listening to a podcast right before listening to Guardian Football Weekly, and there was this guy called John Bruin on that. And he was like, he's a typical English fan, like he wants England to win. And he was like saying stuff like, call me a Pollyanna, or, very, I'm saying quote for quote what he's going to say. Like, I'm paraphrasing it. Like, if you're reliant on refereeing decisions to, bail you out, that means you were not never good enough to win the game in the first place. But I'm like, I literally, like, I wish there was a feature where you could immediately call into a podcast and like literally rant and like you just dress down a person, because that is, if England were on the wrong side of a few calls, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have been taking that sort of stance. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have been taking that stance. And what I will say, in a game like football, I think because of how goals are a rarity in football, or the frequency of goals is very rare in football, it does impact. Every small decision does impact the larger flow of the game, especially in terms of game state. It's not like a game of basketball or cricket for the matter, where there are multiple moments or frequency of moments wherein umpiring mistake in, say, cricket can be, you cannot, it's not the sole reason why a team lost, or a missed call in the first quarter of a basketball game. There's sufficient time for any team, because of how fast paced those games are and how regular, the act of scoring a run, or scoring a point in either sport is more prevalent. And that's where the the likelihood of an umpiring slash refereeing error impacting a game is very, very low compared to a football game, where the very act of scoring a goal is a large thing. That's why a large majority of games go nil all or 1-0 for that matter. It doesn't end in a 2-all or whatever for that matter. So I think it's things of a superiority complex, where okay, England have gone through, so you're glad, and that's what it is. So I just wanted to point that out. So yeah, like, I think this is a semi-final. I think unfortunately I'll be supporting England, and I think it's part of the fact because Bellingham has actually caught my heart, because this is, and I think I don't know that I've told you this. I have a soft corner towards my favorite sort of archetype of player are those players in midfield who can do it all. So like who are approximately 6 feet tall. They can attack, defend, and that's I try, at least in my let's say failed football career. I've at least tried to play all over the place in midfield. Like, that's part of how I came into playing football, and transitioned back into playing defending and all that. So yeah, like, my favorite player, or my first avenue into football, was a player like Michael Ballack, who was the personification of that, and that's how I became a Chelsea fan as well. So yeah, I gravitate towards those sort of players. So yeah, that's part of the reason why I'm also like I have a soft corner towards Bellingham. Uh, but also, like, I've been it's just like you look at empirical evidence as well, like how there is a stat going around, like how this was before the quarterfinals, how Argentina had the most fouls per yellow card, and the way Argentina plays, it doesn't. It's like a person like Cuti Romero, who literally is a walking red card in the Premier League, has not gotten a single yellow card. I am shocked. I'm shocked. A guy like Lisandro Martinez, whose literal nickname is called the Butcher of Amsterdam, has come away with us without a single yellow card. I am very surprised. So yeah, I will say that, like, rant out of the way. So yeah, like, I think I'll get that out of the window. So yeah, like, let's end this episode before we go meander a lot into what is our what is your favorite final and why you think it'll happen.
Do I go with my heart? Do I go with my brain? Let's go with brain. So, who I think will be in the final? France, and the other party is going to be Argentina.
Okay.
Obviously, that was my first choice for the rankings of the four potential finals as well.
Hmm.
Uh, it's just because France have shown that they have the quality to take them all the way,
Hmm.
and Argentina, because I feel like they, maybe with little bit of help from the tournament organizers and other external parties, they might be able to make it past England. And also because I don't want to see England win. That's all. So France Argentina is my final.
I think I think I'm going for France England just to counter you, so to speak. But also I think uh, because I don't think I think England have beaten better teams relative to Argentina, and also I think if not this game, then when? If not now, when for England? Like because I'm pretty sure uh, I mean I know Germany are going through a bad run, but will it last forever? No, not really. And I think this is the best possible opportunity England have at least winning a World Cup. I don't think they will have a like I think they will have because of how England is, they will have a lot of talented players. But I think this set of players, this group of players, I think is the last opportunity, last chance for Kane. I don't think it's very unlikely that he would be there in the 2030 World Cup. So, and this is what they brought in Tuchel for, right? I mean, not to win the games against Mexico and Norway in the quarterfinals and pre-quarterfinals. I think it's to win those games against the top ranking nations, and this is what they've. I think he's one of the more well-paid coaches in the international circuit as well as a result of that. And if he's not able to face, I mean, this is literally the first time England are facing a team which could be at their level or slightly better than them. And I think it would be charitable to say Argentina are better than them because it's just Messi and friends. But you get my thing in terms of rankings. That's how it's measured out. So if Tuchel is not able to negotiate this, then I don't think England has a chance. Maybe they probably could win the Euros at home, but that's a different discussion to be had and different set of circumstances also to be had. But that's part of the reason why I'm going to sing because this is what and I really have not been impressed by Tuchel. It's just been a more Germanic version of Southgate, and I think Southgate has literally been doing was literally doing the same thing. He was beating the teams they were expected to, who they were more talented than, who they were higher in the rankings compared to, and I think so. I think Tuchel has literally been at par, if not over, I mean, under par. So he needs to show that why England brought him in. And I don't think he's shown anything as much. I think maybe his in-game tweaks have been good, but I don't think, and because of the hydration breaks. But yeah, like part of me is like I want to see how England does, and I think what will make it sweeter: England reaching the final and then losing the final. That will make it's like that. I'm always thinking about I'm thinking long term, and that's I think that would make it more fun as well. So yeah, this is that.
That's like you win both ways. It's a win-win for you. Argentina also knocked out, and then England also lose.
Yeah, so like I'm cool with it. So yeah, like I play both sides. The meme is there, so is that. So yeah. So I think we're done with this, and yeah, like I think it'll be a longish gap between us, and I think in the episode with Philip as well, we will also be doing a little bit of a mini preview about the semi-finals, and also a little bit of a larger term, micro. I mean, telescope of the tournament as a whole. So there's that as well. But yeah, like we move on to the most wanted segment in sports podcasting, the quiz, and this time it's me quizzing Sai, and it's on the topic of Golden Boot winners and top scorers basically in World Cups. So are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So question number one: which player won the Golden Boot in the 2022 World Cup? Do you want options or do you want to take it? Councillor?
Mbappe.
Yeah, that's a right answer. You got the bonus
Yes,
as well.
I'm good.
Yeah, okay.
Hmm.
So that's 15 points for you. Okay. So now now I'm not like, these are all easy questions, okay? But I will like modulate between two stuff. So which okay? How many World Cup goals has Miroslav Klose scored? So basically, Miroslav Klose before this World Cup was the highest top scorer in World Cup history. So how many goals had he scored prior to this World Cup? You want to take it without options or with options?
I'm going to go without option because I think I know the answer. Is it 17?
Uh, no, it
Okay,
is 16.
wrong. Oh
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
Okay.
It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So yeah, the answer is 16, and yeah. Okay. So you didn't answer the second question. Now we move on to the third one, and it is this. Okay. Which country has won the most number of golden boots, or has won the their strikers has won the golden boot n number of times? So you want options or you want to take it on the fly?
I think I'll take options.
Okay. So option A is Brazil, option B is Germany, option C is Italy, and option D is France.
Brazil, Germany, Italy, France. Okay, I want to eliminate Germany. I'm going to eliminate Brazil.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm going to say France.
Okay. Okay. Uh, I'm being very. Are you sure you want to lock that option down?
You're being very charitable.
Okay.
Okay, I will still go
So
with it just because you asked. I will still go with it.
okay. So the answer is actually Germany. They've
Oh,
produced the most
wow.
number of Golden Boot winners. So
Maybe the closer uh, fact that Miroslav Klose was the highest goal scorer should have given me some sort of a hint.
yes
But I
and
don't
no.
think it's related, but like also, if a German has scored the most, had at least scored the most amount of goals,
Yeah.
maybe there's something in it, no?
Yeah, probably, but like he did only top score at one World Cup, which was the
Yeah.
2006 World Cup at home.
Hmm.
And so I'll tell you the Golden Boot winners from Germany. So one was in 1970, the Mexico World Cup. This was Gerd Muller. He scored 10 goals over there. And then Miroslav Klose in the 2006 World Cup, he scored five. And South Africa 2010, Thomas Muller scored five. So it was jointly held with David Villa as well as Schneider, but Muller won by virtue of having more assists compared to the other two. So he had three assists compared to the other. And Brazil also, to be fair, are in the race as well because they've had Ronaldo, who was the best player and the Golden Boot winner of the 2002 South Korea Japan World Cup, and they did have the highest scorer in the 1938 as well as 1950 World Cup. So it is kind of a joint thing. So you probably could have gone with either Brazil or Germany. So yeah, you would have been correct.
I like how I eliminated both the answers.
Yeah, it was good.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Italy have won it one, two, uh, twice, and France have won it twice. So yeah, okay. So yeah, where now we move on to option four and option. I mean, question number four and question number five. So okay, let's go with this. So the most number of goals in a particular campaign was scored by Just Fontaine at the 1958 Sweden World Cup, and yeah, he's a Frenchman who scored these goals. Now I want you to answer how many goals he scored in that World Cup. You want to take it without options or with options?
Mm, give me options.
Okay, option A 11, option B 12, option 3 13, option D 14.
12. See, you can't say because anyways, all of them are between. They all have a margin of 1-1. So I can be close
Yeah,
anyways. I'm
yeah,
either
like,
close or
but
I'm wrong.
yeah, yeah, you missed out by one though, but it's 13 actually. So yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
Okay.
So
A number game was not that good. My number game
yeah,
was not that good.
yeah, yeah. Okay, and we end with this. Okay, uh, okay. So I'm wondering how to frame this particular question. There are two ways of going about it. So okay, I'll give the option to you. Okay, do you want a number based answer or do you want to guess a name?
Name.
Okay, so this player scored 5 goals in a match against Cameroon in 1994. So I'll give you a little more context. So he is from the Soviet Union slash Russia. So 1994, they came out of the Soviet Union. So there's that as well. Uh, I think this is a very. I think I've given you the hint. You want? Do you want options or you want to take it from
Options, options.
there? Okay. So option A is Romario. Option B is Ole Salenko. Option C is Hristo Stoichkov. And option D is Roberto Baggio.
Wait, so just repeat the question again.
So okay, this player is the only player to have scored 5 goals in a World Cup. So basically, the most number of goals scored in a particular match was by this
Match.
player. He scored this against Cameroon in the 1994
Hmm.
USA World Cup, and
Hmm.
he is from the Soviet Union slash Russia.
Hmm.
That is your, let's say, broader hint. And
Yeah.
the options are A. Romario, B. Ole Solenko, C. Hristo Stoichkov, and D. Paolo Rossi. Wait. D is Roberto Baggio. Sorry.
B. Option B. I don't know the name. I can't pronounce the name,
Okay.
but option B.
Yeah, you're correct. It is Ole Salenko. So, yeah, that is the thing. So,
Awesome.
this is a very interesting topic about
Hmm.
Golden Boot winners. Like one of the more you get to know about the cult heroes and different you know characters in football as well as a result. And I think these are one of the. I mean, these are iconic questions. I would say, like in any World Cup quiz as well. So I think I tried to. But yeah, you were a little unlucky in the number based ones, so to speak. Like I think that is it is what it is at the end of the day. But yeah, uh, I think I think the quiz is unfortunately it's going a little one sided. So that how it is being going. So
It's okay. At least
just
I'm
to
learning.
yeah, so to refresh the leaderboard, so to speak, after this round of quizzing, we are 4 rounds in. Uh, right now, I'm at 165 points, and you are at 85 points. Now, with regard to draft, the draft tracker that we are doing, so interestingly enough, the 4 teams are we have an even split of teams each, and more interestingly, both our teams are facing each other in the semi-final. So Argentina is facing, so there is a guarantee of either of our teams having representation in the final. So there is that. But after everything, I'm right now at 2,825 points, and you are at 2,420. I think the whole reason why there's this large of a gap is because of your whole
Yeah.
the whole Asian thing literally screwed you
I
over.
picked the
So
wrong continent to support.
yeah, like probably if you had like taken a little more of a even split of Asia as well as Africa, probably even so I think South America you had a different thing, but I think Asia like screwed you over. So yeah, like definitely the case. So yeah, and then in the prediction game, just to highlight it, I think your prediction of all the semifinalists came correct. So you're getting a 75 points from that, uh, because you did predict Spain, Argentina, France, and England, with Spain winning the whole thing. That remains to be seen. And I only got France, Argentina, and Spain right. So I'll be getting just 50. Wait, you're getting 100 points. Sorry for that, and I'll be getting 75 points for that particular prediction. Your prediction of England Germany getting knocked out in the round of 32, you were bang on the target with regard to it. So you got 25 points for that. I My prediction of England getting knocked out in the quarterfinals unfortunately didn't pan out for whatever reason. Uh, my prediction of France eventually winning it is still in play. Same with your prediction of Spain doing it. Your prediction of Iran reaching the quarterfinals didn't pan out, and mine of Ivory Coast reaching the quarterfinals didn't pan out. Of course, it was. They were very long shots by their very nature. Probably one of us should have gone with Norway. Probably would have had a better chance at it. Okay, and Golden Ball, Olise, probably in play. Probably in play if he does well in the semifinals, and because he has played well and he is the highest assist maker in this tournament in the final. Still 2 games for him to win. And I think yeah, it's more likely that Messi could come away with the Golden Ball because he has been the very reason Argentina have done as well as they have. And Golden Boot also looks likely to be Messi because you predicted Messi, and I went with Oyataban, and I don't know how that may or may not come out because it is very dependent on many factors. But yeah, it
It's
is
more likely
theoretic.
that Mikel Merino
Yeah,
gets it before Azabal gets it.
yeah, and oh, actually, your no, your Golden Boot was actually Yamal actually. So okay, so I don't think that's gonna work out. Like, uh, so I think I'll put it as a zero for both of us in that respect. Golden Ball, both of us are still in play. And best young player, I went with Yildiz, and you went with Yamal. I okay. See, I think because of how the media landscape works, if Yamal does play well in the semi-final and final, pretty likely that he could win the young player as a result of that. But objectively speaking, at the quarterfinal stage, I think Manzambi had a much better tournament compared to Yamal. And yeah, so but you are still in play theoretically speaking with regard to that. So yeah, very interesting thing. Anything could happen. So yeah, let's see. So all this to say, let's wind up. It's been a little bit longer episode, but I think we had to do justice to each of these 4 teams as well. And we'll meet you guys in the aftermath of the final, hopefully in with France winning it, and we just celebrating the fact that a really good team won the World Cup rather than a dubious team winning the World Cup. But yeah, like hopefully it is with what I said, England. I mean, England being the vanquished in the final, and I get double joy as a result of that. So that's all I'm asking for. Please, if there is whatever is out there, please help me out. I've been a very nice boy. Like I don't ask for any Christmas gifts. Please give me this. This is my early Christmas. So yeah, that's all I'll say. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and please do tune in to the. I think the most latest episode with Philip has received a lot of reception for that. I think within 24 hours we've had a large number of views for that. I don't know why, but that particular episode has popped off for whatever reason. I think I did say also in the aftermath it was one of the best episodes we did conduct in that series and overall. But yeah, like very interesting to see that do as well as it did. So yeah, please continue to do that. And we do have one more episode in that, potentially two, but I think let's cap it at one for now. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and drop a comment as well. I mean, don't be a hater by putting whatever it is you want to put in the comments, but please do give kind comments. But I understand we are willing to take feedback if they're if they're valid feedback for that matter. And yeah, we'll probably be seeing you, uh, you know, in approximately 10 days from now. Let's keep it that way. And yeah, thank you guys. And Sai, ciao.